And well, likewise, when smoking was still an accepted habit, chess players would smoke cigars, and in the 70s and 80s we'd see chess players chain smoking cigarettes. Well, these days smoking has lost most of its appeal, although there are still millions of smokers around the world. And the question was, how many smokers are there among the participants in Norway Chess 2013? How many of the participants of Norway Chess 2013 smoke? There were many people who had the right answer. There were also many who I think guessed, and I was surprised. Somebody said, well, 3 of them smoke, 4 of them smoke. One even philosophized a bit. He says, well, I don't think there's many smoking anymore. Well, probably Nakamura was a smoker, but I guess he also gave up by now. No idea where that came from, because I don't think Hikaru ever touched a cigarette. Then there were people who say, well, probably Svitler, because he's Russian. There you go. Russians, they smoke, if you didn't know already. And so there were some guesses, but most of them had the correct answer, and that is that of all the participants here, there is no one who smokes.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking if there was anyone who ever smoked of these. Probably not. I think I was talking to Peter Svitler the other day, and he said I didn't even touch a cigarette in my entire life.
Of course not. They're top athletes.
Yes, it's not a very wise thing to do to smoke if you want to reach the peak in. So
we perhaps shouldn't talk too loud, because there have been some heavy.
Let me briefly finish this, even if we have the world champion and his opponent entering. So the answer was that none of the 10 participants smokes, and the winner is, and I'm sure to go wrong with the pronunciation of this one, it's Kürşat Karatas from Kishim Bakirköy, Istanbul, Turkey. So Kürşat Karatas, how do you think, Fishy? That sounds more or less like it. Kürşat Karatas from Istanbul, Turkey. He wins a 1-year subscription to New in Chess. And the new question I will read out after we've talked to Fishy Anand and Jon Ludvig Hammer, who just walked in. Fishy Anand has won. How did that go?
Well, it was just a very complicated game.
You were all ready to push the pawn to d6. I mean, this was something you once had a look at, and it's a well-known variation, but it's very complex. Or
Yes, basically. I mean, the point is, White has this d pawn going for him, some space, and a kingside attack will start. Black basically has to do something fast. E5 was not a move I looked at. It just seemed very suspect to me immediately. But I don't know, maybe I should start with bishop c4. I mean, okay, these things you have to analyze afterwards.
at e5.
After I got bishop e6, I was pretty happy, but I was nervous when you did.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't particularly, I mean, I played h4, though I saw bishop e6, I felt something along like knight h3 should work. Okay, so the point is, if knight f3, f6, and actually breaking through is going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. So I tried this. And now the point is, if f6, I still have f4. And so White's idea is generally a passed pawn on d6 and a pawn on h6, more or less exactly his game with Veselin. That's the plan against this Grunfeld structure. So the idea is you use the pawn on h6 to occasionally threaten mate, and you use the pawn on d6 to, to take a lot of key squares from black and so on. Well, then there's the little matter of queen h4. In fact, John seems to have pretty much assumed that I'd blundered the pawn. I hadn't actually. I mean, one of the things I thought about before knight h3, queen h4, I looked at long castles and I felt it was okay. But I think I underestimated black's counterplay. I mean, here, if knight g5, queen f4, I didn't see a knockout blow.
You thought you were doing okay?
I thought I must be close to winning. But for instance, bishop d3, queen a4, I was seeing queen h6, bishop takes h3, g3. But then simply knight d7 and knight f6. And somehow, this was the first disappointment, actually, because I was convinced that something like queen h6 takes g3 is going to work.
Yeah. No, I thought
But
I
you
was
just have
doing-
knight d7 f6. No, you may
I
well
thought
be
I was
right.
doing
You
good.
may well be right.
Well, I thought I was gonna either win or die trying.
Yeah, I mean, he already started all this intimidation on Twitter, so it was getting a
Yeah,
bit
yeah, sure.
worrying.
No, I had this conversation with Mick Greengard before the game, and he was basically suggesting I should go all in. So
Yeah, anyway,
I could
so...
have done queen f4.
Yes, I thought... Actually, my idea was not to take on f4, because then the knight gets the e5 square. I was going to do something along, maybe knight at 7 or rook at 7, and for some reason I kept thinking that when I double my rooks on the h file that I will do well, even though it's not in middle game anymore. But okay, he took,
Well,
and
I
actually
thought
this might
even
be
queen
just a good
f4
move.
was decent
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, may well be. The problem is, I was so obsessed with more direct ideas that I had not paid attention to this, but of course this clears white's queen side as effectively as anything else. So I went queen e3, queen a3. I thought knight c6 actually.
Yeah, no. When I took an a2, I thought I had h5. I missed rook takes h5. so-
Yeah, no, but I thought actually knight c6 worked. Because my original idea was knight h7 and I thought you're not in time, but then it turns out you simply have knight d4. And somehow after knight d4 I couldn't...
It's at least a draw for you, right?
Yeah, but is it more, is the question.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, there's also knight a5, but knight d4 is more effective because you take away some e2 square and things like that from time to time.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't see knight c6, but I
Mhm.
also thought I was doing reasonably.
Yeah,
good.
no, this is critical. I mean, c4, bishop c2 isn't really working. Bishop c2, bishop f5. It's actually kind of amazing. Knight at 7, he plays queen c2 check. No,
I think I was going to
no, bishop c2. No, that's the point. If knight at 7, what I had missed initially was that bishop c2. And this is one of these funny draws where after queen at 6, bishop takes d1, and my king can't go anywhere because the queen e2 mate. So I have to actually take the bishop, and then queen b1, d2. I didn't see how I could escape from the perpetual. So then I kind of had to do this. This was a bit of a gamble because I wasn't sure what I was getting
Yeah,
into.
no.
I mean, h5 is possible. I was going to go g4. And
No, I thought you were playing with fire, but
yeah.
I mean, I was very cooperative at this point.
Yeah, and the problem for him is that both knight d7 and knight c6, white meets it with knight at 6 check, takes f5. So in fact he played, I thought he had missed something, but in fact it turned out I had.
Well, I thought, no, I did miss something. I missed queen e7 check. I thought I could play h5.
Oh, okay. But are you sure that this was, no, not this, but I thought now you could take here. King f7, and I couldn't see a clear-cut mate. I mean, something like this. Say check. I mean, obviously it's a pleasant position to start thinking in, so I wasn't worried. But I wasn't completely sure that this was working for white. Now something like king f6, even if it didn't lose to rook f7, queen f7 is queen
Queen e7 mate.
yeah, queen e8. Sorry, no, there was some idea where I come queen g7, and then when I check you again, if you come to d5, I have c4 check. This motive was important, but here, well,
It
you go
looks
to
dangerous
d6,
to
and
me.
I actually didn't see the knockout. I didn't see the hammer blow, but. Yeah, so I thought this was actually a plausible defense.
Yeah. No, I mean, for some reason I just didn't consider king g8.
Yeah, because after this, initially I thought I'd screwed up, but I mean I'd seen rook d7, but then I started to get very excited about queen f6. But of
Yeah.
course this even loses. Now white is lost after rook d8 check, king e2, and the point is he doesn't do knight d4 and all this rubbish. He goes queen b5 check and rook d3 check. So that would have been very unpleasant, but I think by here I had started to see rook d7. What I didn't see was what to do here. I thought this was, I don't know, maybe the computer finds some win, but At the board, I didn't see something.
You don't think I had something else on king to say? Oh no.
I mean,
I'll check.
you may well have. I just I thought
No, I mean,
the
I
position
thought
is
I
too
had-
complicated to analyze every move. I think let's just leave it at this. So rook e8, and the point is that it's even working for white at tempo down. I mean, essentially he's had rook e8 and still rook h1 wins. And I assume this is just lost. So.
Not too long ago you said one Grünfeld too many in this tournament. Still you return to the Grünfeld?
Yeah, no, I mean, Levon posed some problems and then I fixed it, and now I'm just waiting for somebody to pose some problems in another line.
Yeah.
So, this game I did not think was a Grünfeld too many. I thought it was a really a fighting game, and I mean, I lost, but I feel I lost because I made some silly mistake, and I feel I was very close to getting a result, if only a draw.
Yeah. Then to what extent did you prepare this variation for today, or did you look at it
I
as
sat
not?
at the board thinking, queen d2, what happens then? And so,
But that was it, or?
yeah, no, but I mean, I think I need to unlearn some openings in terms of the games aren't decided in the openings, maybe at this level, but I need to start improving back at my level, and then it's all about, you know, openings are good, but it's not gonna be decisive. So I need to sort of find back my fighting form, and being caught unprepared against a world champion is certainly something that is a good test of your fighting abilities.
Was it scary to take on e4? I mean, did this queen h4, e4?
H4 was scary. When I took on E4, I was just thinking, well, let's just go with it.
Yeah, the problem is there are not actually that many alternatives to taking on e4.
No,
I
no,
mean, having said A, you have to say B and then
Yeah.
go to a4 and even take on a2 maybe.
Yeah.
But after queen a4, I felt I had lost control of the position. So
Really?
I didn't know it. Suddenly it seemed that many of the lines I initially thought were winning suddenly started to become draws. Because it's always this one last resource of black turns up and that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
obviously it was nice to play knight f7. I think that was very good.
Absolutely. But you mean queen h4? I mean, this you allowed it intentionally, but then had second thoughts, or?
Yeah, I mean, I allowed queen h4 because I was optimistic, but after queen e4, let's say my evaluation started to drop.
Yeah. But then the pleasure came back when you could take on f7.
f7 was messy, but I felt that he was tilting. So
Yeah. That's what you feel at the board. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just a little curious, but because in Ludvig, didn't you just play this line with white just a month ago or something?
Yeah, no, I prepared this for white, so I was happy Vishy played queen d2. I was happy Vishy played bishop d2. But I mean, seeing as how I prepared it for white, I had prepared some other idea in this line, not queen d2, so I hadn't really paid enough attention, I guess, to this line.
So queen d2 was Vishy's improvement over your
Oh,
game.
yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, it was a big problem preparing for Hammer because in almost every Grunfeld line he's played one game or 0 games, and so I have no idea what he's going to play against any single, what his preferences are or anything. But anyway.
But you had seen this game he played with white in the same line just a month ago?
No, this I had somehow missed. I only looked at his black games, but maybe I should have checked out his white ones, of course. But, anyway.
Good. You're going to party tonight on the national day, or?
No, but maybe I'll have an ice cream.
That's a very good plan. Have an ice cream. What about you, Vishy? Also an ice cream or some cake, or?
No, I mean tomorrow we've got this ridiculously early game, so
Yeah.
have to figure out something for that.
To be there in time and
Yeah, I
in
mean,
the right mood.
I mean it's a common phenomenon in the last round, but essentially you don't have a schedule anymore, so you just have to.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, after breakfast, you get a couple of hours, then after lunch, you still have an hour and a half if you want to clean up, but tomorrow we don't have that, so.
Yeah. Well, what is your feeling in general, let's say, despite the hiccup that happened, that you're playing well here? I mean, are you generally satisfied with your form? Is it?
I'm not really reflecting on it. I think
No?
these things are best avoided during tournaments.
Mhm. Good. Then we're not going to do that. Hammer, tomorrow, another chance, another fight.
Tomorrow is going to be a big fight. I'm playing
Mm.
Hikaru, and he's going to want to win at all costs.
Mm.
So it's going to be a tough game. But
Good.
I'm looking forward to it.
Good, that's the spirit.
Mm.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and enjoy this beautiful day. For the rest, what is still left of it? Did you go outside and have a look, or this
No,
morning?
I mean, in fact, I thought it was going to rain on the parade, literally.
Ah, yeah.
At some point I woke up, well, they woke me up at 7 in the morning with some drums, and then I didn't know what was happening, but then when you saw all the colors, I figured out it must be a national holiday of some sort.
Yeah, that it wasn't.
And then, but then I looked up, and I mean, you had these really dark clouds,
Mm,
and I thought, honestly, I was surprised it didn't rain heavily.
yeah. Good. Well, thank you very much for showing the game and being with us. That was the second game of today to finish. World champion Viswanathan Anand beat young Ludvig Hammer.